Imagine stepping out of the sun-baked Mediterranean into endless British rain, where even a legionary's courage is no match for the marrow-chilling cold. Rome's finest faced not barbarians, but the relentless freeze of Britannia's northern frontier, a foe that soaked through tunics, cloaks, and pride alike. Most soldiers never expected that socks or trousers would mean the difference between life and death. How did they adapt or succumb at the edge of the empire? Rain fell in sheets, soaking every layer and pooling in the footprints of men who had marched from sunlit provinces to the edge of the world. The northern frontier of Britannia offered little comfort. Fog clung low to the ground, and daylight, when it came, lasted only a handful of hours. Strabo, the Greek geographer, described these lands as a place where even on clear days, the sun might appear for just 3 or 4 hours at midday. Legionaries from the Mediterranean, men who had known the dry heat of Syria, the gentle winters of Gaul, or the warmth of southern Italy, found themselves shivering beneath endless gray skies. The cold was not a passing hardship, but a daily adversary. It crept into bones, numbed fingers, and turned routine patrols into tests of endurance. For many, the first winter on Hadrian's Wall was a shock that no training had prepared them for. The climate was more than an inconvenience. It was a force that shaped every hour, every decision, and every measure taken to survive. Wool was the legionaries' first line of defense against the British cold. The sagum, a heavy broad cloak, was prized for its warmth and for its natural lanolin, which helped repel rain and mist. Underneath, soldiers relied on a system of layering rather than a single thick garment. It was common to wear 2 or even 3 wool tunics, trapping air between each layer and allowing for adjustment as conditions changed. This principle was not just for the ranks. Even Emperor Augustus was known to wear several tunics at once when the weather turned. Next to the skin, linen provided a softer, more breathable base, helping to manage sweat and reduce chafing during long marches or sentry duty. Over time, practical needs outweighed tradition. Legionaries began to adopt brete, wool trousers borrowed from local tribes, despite their reputation as barbarian dress in Rome. These adaptations reveal a military culture willing to borrow and innovate, focused on survival rather than appearances. Feet suffered most in the cold, damp conditions of Britannia. Standard-issue caligae, open-work leather sandals, offered little protection against icy mud and rain. Legionaries responded with practical fixes. Letters from Vindolanda, written nearly 2,000 years ago, include urgent requests for socks called udons, sent from family members or purchased locally. These wool socks, sometimes cut and sewn, sometimes hand-looped, added a vital layer between skin and leather. Soldiers also stuffed their sandals with moss or scraps of fur, creating makeshift insulation to keep out the chill. Repairs and modifications to caligae found at wall forts show patterns of heavy wear and adaptation for harsher climates. Trousers adopted from local tribes shielded thighs and knees, but lower legs still needed protection. Some modern reconstructions suggest the use of cloth leg bindings, yet no direct archaeological evidence supports this for Hadrian's Wall. Instead, the combination of socks, insulated sandals, and trousers formed the best defense. These solutions were often improvised, supplied by families, or traded with locals, reflecting a constant struggle to keep extremities warm until soldiers could reach the warmth of communal spaces. Roman military engineers brought a different kind of warmth to Britannia, one built from brick, tile, and ingenuity. The hypocaust, a marvel of Roman technology, transformed cold stone rooms into islands of comfort. At its heart was the praefurnium, a furnace set just outside the building, Slaves or soldiers fed wood and charcoal into a roaring fire. The heat rushed through a forest of short brick pillars called pillae, which lifted the floor above the ground. Hot air and smoke filled this hidden space, warming thick floor tiles that radiated heat upward. Hollow flue tiles, or tubuli, climbed inside the walls, carrying warmth higher and letting smoke escape through roof vents. Archaeological work at Chester's. Roman fort reveals these features in remarkable detail. Rows of pillae still stand beneath the old bathhouse floors, and fragments of wall flues show how heat was channeled throughout the structure. In the commanding officer's house, the same system ensured that rank and privilege meant real physical comfort. The hypocaust was not just for relaxation. It was a calculated investment in health, morale, and the Roman way of life, even at the empire's bleakest edge. Stone replaced timber as the standard for Roman forts along Hadrian's Wall, not for grandeur, but for survival. Thick masonry walls, sometimes nearly a meter wide, trapped the day's limited warmth and slowed the chill that seeped in after sunset. Inside, the barracks followed a strict rhythm, each block divided into a series of small rooms, each just large enough to fit 8 men, the contubernium. These cramped quarters, barely 4 meters across, became the legionaries' shelter, their bodies providing the most reliable source of heat through the long, damp nights. Raised stone floors helped keep out ground moisture, but insulation depended on how tightly men slept, their breath mingling in the air. In common areas, portable braziers filled with glowing charcoal offered some relief, though every fire brought anxiety. Archaeologists find patches of scorched stone and layers of ash, reminders that warmth often came with the risk of disaster. Yet the need for heat outweighed fear. The barracks, with their heavy walls and shared air, were less a haven of comfort than a calculated defense against the relentless cold, bridging the gap between Roman engineering and simple human endurance. Steam curled from the roof of the fort's bathhouse, promising a refuge from the relentless cold. Inside, the daily rhythm of the garrison played out in a sequence as familiar as any drill. Soldiers entered the apoditerium, the changing room, peeling away layers stiff with sweat and rain. Each man followed a clear progression through the baths, moving from the frigidarium's bracing chill to the gentle warmth of the tepidarium, and finally into the caldarium, where heat from the hypocaust soaked deep into tired muscles. In the hot room, men scraped away grime and fatigue with curved stridules, talking quietly or sharing jokes in the haze. The bathhouse was more than a place to clean the body. It was a communal engine for morale, a space where rank faded, and the shared struggle against the northern climate brought men together. Access was scheduled by unit and duty roster, ensuring every soldier had a turn, even for an hour. Here, for a brief time, warmth and camaraderie replaced the damp isolation beyond the stone walls. The comfort came at a cost. Fuel for the fires had to be found, cut, and carried, a burden that shaped every day on the frontier. A single bathhouse furnace could consume up to 2 cords of wood each day in winter, roughly 5 to 6 cubic meters, just to keep the hypocaust running at full heat. For a fort the size of Housesteads or Chester's, annual fuel needs soared past 200 metric tons of wood, not counting what was burned for cooking, braziers, or smithing. Charcoal, favored for its clean burn and higher energy, required even more raw material. 4 to 7 kilograms of wood were needed to produce just 1 kilogram of charcoal. That meant the visible stacks of fuel outside every fort represented only a fraction of the extraction happening in the surrounding landscape. Archaeobotanical studies and modeling confirmed that a legionary garrison's daily demand for fuel rivaled the food supply in logistical complexity. The numbers are stark. hundreds of tons each year, with woodlands shrinking as extraction zones crept farther from the walls. Behind every moment of warmth in the barracks or bathhouse stood a relentless, calculated effort to keep the fires burning through the long northern winter. The forests around Hadrian's Wall thinned as the need for fuel grew. Charcoal pits and wood-cutting sites scarred the land, their remains recorded in pollen cores and layers of ash stretching up to 10 kilometers from the forts. Oak, ash, birch, and alder, once dominant in the mixed woodlands, disappeared first, followed by willow and pine. The ancient pollen record marks these changes as abrupt, a ring of deforestation that expanded outward with every passing decade of occupation. Legionaries, often pulled from regular duties, formed work parties to fell, split, and haul timber back to the garrisons. Some estimates suggest that, at peak demand, dozens of men could be assigned to a fuel gathering for weeks at a time, reducing the number available for patrols or training. Charcoal burners worked in shifts, tending slow-burning kilns near the cut sites. The cost was not only ecological, but human. Every cord of wood meant hours of labor lost to the cold, and every cleared field was a measure of the army's relentless need for heat. The landscape itself became a record of survival, shaped as much by axes and saws as by the stone of the wall. Even now, Britain's cold shapes how people adapt and endure. The Roman struggle against the elements is a reminder that technology and teamwork still decide who thrives at the margins. As climates shift and extremes increase, the lesson endures. Survival always comes down to what we build and who we trust beside us.